So, hello again. Nice to see you. I was asked to have a topic so that there could be something on the website, and the topic, the topic was, does anyone know what the topic is? Or can I just talk about anything? How many? Something like wise attention in a world overwhelmed. I think, is that the name? You've got the perfect memory. Wise attention. Um, and we'll see if that topic emerges as we talk. One of the things that I kind of like to do, just in a way, is being with a group, is to see, what's here, what's in the field, and to really kind of be responding in real time to maybe things also that are arising for me. This home retreat that Dan was mentioning, it was an experiment, and I was, in a way, the experiment for me was this, like, either people are going to feel by the end of the 5 days like, oh, it's hopeless. I can't get as far in my practice, even when I've got, a group and a teacher and there all week as I can on a residential retreat. So either people are going to lose confidence, or they're going to actually have some real benefit and growing in this sense of, oh wow, it is actually possible to really have this momentum build. What do you think happened? How'd the experiment go for folks? First off, how many of you are inspired to really be practicing, not just when we're here, but really in the ongoing moments of your day? How many of you really kind of inclined towards that? Yeah, this is what we're doing. Is to have this practice be infused in our lives. So I was really surprised at how much. Could say, how much, what often happens, because I'm mostly a retreat teacher, mostly spend my time offering guidance and support on retreats, to see what happened just from Sangha, community, coming together, as Dan was saying. So we start off with a Sunday afternoon, and then an hour in the morning, remotely online, and then coming together in the evening for those 5 days, so that everyone could have their lives, whatever your life normal rhythms are. You have your life, but you've got this structure that is supporting you. I was so amazed of how much seeing, how much development of awareness, how much interest there was from just having this loose kind of structure of container, some reminders, putting that in the mind. Oh, right, today is this opportunity to be more present, to be learning about whatever reactions are going on. And then we come together we came together in the evenings and then talk about it, right? Share, how did it go? How did you, what sorts of things were you experiencing? And, young parents describing the chaos in their lives, and then the work tensions, and folks that are done with work and have other activities, and so much available for this inner cultivation. This is the number one question that arises for folks that have gone on residential retreats. How many of you have had the opportunity to do a residential retreat, so I can see? Okay, how many of you have not, but would like to get a chance to do that? Okay, so part of this is also this sort of retreat structure enables us to just be in our ordinary lives, right? And to take an hour or two each day. Why is it hard? Why is practicing in our daily lives more challenging? Because this is kind of the main thing that people ask, like, how do I get the benefit that I have let's say we're just here taking an hour and we feel some benefit. That's why we're all here, is because we've experienced some benefit. What is it for you? What's challenging? Let me just name some things. Where do you find it easy to lose awareness? Where do you find it hard to maintain some awareness? You're just going to call it out. Talking, lose awareness while speaking. Workplace. Yep. The internet, the big boogie, this black little thing, the phone. Yes. I'm sorry? Eating, yes. Yeah. All of that, getting kids ready for school, getting them up, everything. Yes, all the talks and great. Constant decision making, the necessity of constant decision making. Great. Reading the news, yeah. Driving, yeah. Yeah. Television. Trying not to read the news.
We have one online, transitioning into sleep at night.
Ah, yeah, transitioning into sleep at night. Yes, oftentimes we're lying in bed, the eyes are closed, the mind becomes predominant, and we often get caught into the mind and all the activity that the mind is doing. So, what is it that's happening when we come, let's say, here, and we take a moment of formal practice? What's happening? How many of you find it easier to be aware when you come into the room and we have this time to practice? Pretty much everyone, right? Why? What's happening there? Gathering the attention, yeah. Less distractions.
Team effort.
Team effort in the back with a hand raised.
Synchronizing my cycle.
Synchronizing your cycles, very interesting, yes.
Giving ourselves permission.
Giving yourself permission, great. Yeah, kind of an association, sacred ground, yeah. Routine, yeah, the rhythm of the routine. What was that? The intention, great. Say it again. Communal experience, great. Sangha, yeah. A teacher is present, yeah, hopefully a good one. Finding your center, yeah. Yeah. Feeling safe, beautiful. Yeah, safety is huge in practice. So one of the things that I'd like to kind of normalize, first is both the challenges that we have in our daily life. Just recognize this is the nature of this world, is that we're flooded with things to do, responsibilities, places to go, the constant becoming, right? We don't have the kind of supports that we just named, the beautiful supports of Sangha. One of the reasons why, to me, Sangha is so precious, offers us this potential, coming together, right? Grounding ourselves, right? The collective sense of intention, very powerful. The words that we hear, all of this input, that can feel like, oh, I need all of that. And truly this path, over time, invites us to internalize this potential. It's like we come into these gatherings to be reminded of the possibility of what this practice is about, right? Which is moment to moment opening to the way things are, the movements of the heart and mind, the cultivation of clarity and wisdom. And what are we using in order to do that when we arrive into, let's say, a formal setting? What are we using to develop awareness, compassion, clarity, moment to moment? So what are we paying attention to? So the Buddha unpacked this for us, right? And I'm sure we all know what these things are, but basically the Buddha is saying, in this path of awakening, we are using not our imagination, not some creative dream world, right? That happens naturally. That's just the mind's nature. What we're being invited into is right back into our direct experience. That's why I often use this phrase like to return home. I love that phrase. It's like we're always, in a way, experiencing foremost our heart and our mind, how we feel, right? What's happening, and yet it is so easy to live a little bit distant from our direct experience. We're in a dream. We're mostly live through concept, our stories about ourselves, about our day, about what has happened, about what will happen. It takes time to actually arrive in the present moment and to be with our direct experience. That's the invitation of awareness, mindfulness, right? These qualities, these awakening qualities, uses very ordinary experiences, like the body breathing. Like, what's the big deal of the body breathing? What's the big whoop, as one my elder lady Dharma teachers, Carol Wilson, she always goes, big whoop, it's a great phrase. We don't say that much anymore. What's the big deal with breathing? Why is that interesting? Why is that transformative? Happens all by its own, so we can understand cause and effect, nature. Yeah. It's always there, so it can be a support. Yeah. And you can also control it consciously, so some intention can be there. Supple on the surface and then a lot of nuance. Yeah. And if I say, so the body breathing, and then what about the other experiences, the sensations in the body, knowing your mood, your emotions, the experience of hearing. So these direct experiences are what we could say, is the reality that's happening moment to moment. So we use the direct experiences of seeing, of hearing, the experience of the body breathing, the mental activity. So 5 sense doors. What are 2 of the other sense doors I haven't named? Just see if you're smell and taste. Great. So there's the 5 sense doors, and then the mind door, right? We are opening and listening to these 5 sense doors and the mind door to develop awareness and over time to gain insight. We could also say the cultivations of the heart and mind, also, right, to develop wisdom, clarity, compassion. But basically, this beautiful development of the heart and mind comes about naturally when we start to notice our direct experience, and we notice it in a way that is onward leading, meaning our typical way of noticing is through judgment, taking it personally, attaching to it. We'd say this is ayoniso manasikara. So unwise attention is our habitual way, is seeing it through the self view. Wise attention begins to remember the nature of experience is one of cause and effect. It's not wrong to experience anger and ill will. It's not wrong in the sense of it arises out of conditions, but if we're paying attention, we see the impact, both on ourselves and on others. And that's why the Buddha described it as it's not skillful. So it's without shame and without blame, but this is how insight begins to develop, by paying attention to our direct experience. So all of that to say, What is our life? When we describe something in the world, we say it's hard to be aware. Think of any moment in your life that you find challenging. What is happening in that moment? There is some seeing, there is some hearing, there's an emotional experience, right? Maybe a mood that's present. There's a body that's there. Is there a body there in your situation? Everyone have a body and they're difficult? But oftentimes there isn't a body, and we don't know what our mood is. So the invitation then, as we begin to understand, oh, we're just learning how to be with our direct experience. All of life can go from feeling complex and overwhelming to actually being an invitation for awareness to return. Does that make sense? So whatever the situation is, as we begin to have more confidence in our practice and really get interested in, because we feel the difference that it makes, let's say when we come here, and we feel maybe a little bit of nourishment, a little bit of settling. Oh, can I have a moment of remembering to feel the body when I'm talking, let's say, with my kids or with a partner or with parents? What does it feel like to have awareness come into that moment? Can I have a moment of being aware of hearing? Very ordinary, but a moment of awareness, right? We'd say dispels that kind of not knowing, that delusion, moha, right? So moha is many different forms. Most often as we're going through life, awareness is weak, and the tendency of the mind is to be absorbed into the activity. When awareness comes up, awareness also has the opportunity to be learning, so the wisdom can be there. We can feel the energies of the heart and mind, the heart energies. How am I with this experience? And so in a way, this whole door of the Dharma begins to open as this boundary between what we consider formal, right? Because this is so often, for me early on in my practice, it was so formal, my practice, that either I was doing it or it was not happening. And as soon as the bell rang, that's why, and I'm sure a lot of teachers have done this with you, as soon as the bell rings, like the awareness goes, okay, I'm done. And this, on retreats, I often, at some point, bring this in, like, at the end of a sitting, for you, how many of you like the sound of the bell? Okay. Why do you like the sound of the bell at the end of a sitting? Well, just because you like the sound of the bell. Okay. Why else? Is there another? Let's say it's been a long sitting. Why do you like the sound? It's a break. Yeah. Say it again. Yeah, it can signify transition. Okay, great. Yeah. So you have some experience with that. It's over. Yeah. Basically, because the it's over part, for at least for those of us that, have, getting into the whole, like, we just start to get tense and tight. How do we have an experience of awareness in a way so that if that is a habit, every few minutes, let's say, the effort and the attitude shifts as if the bell rings? Because I see this all the time, when we're sitting, bell rings, and there is like a collective sense of the body dropping about an inch or so, like, ah. Now, how do we practice with that energy? What happens that we do know how to soften. It's almost like a mammalian deep knowledge. We do understand that. We've lost a lot of it. I often share that, like dogs, almost after every interaction, they like do a whole a whole shaking out. It's like they're constantly discharging, learning how to soften, how to find safety again. In a way, when the bell rings, if it's true for you that there's a little bit of tension and struggle, the bell rings. That insight of what's happening when our mind softens, right in that moment, there's that sense of this quality of mind and heart. This is more sustainable. The energy that is practicing as we get tense and tight by the end of a sitting, that's not sustainable. There's a reason why when the bell rings and you go, ah, but that ah can be the insight of, okay, there's a something creeping in, a kind of effort that is tightening that may not allow awareness to feel like it is available. And if we want awareness to become available during ordinary moments of the day, so that when we walk out of this room, you start to feel your body, you open the doors, you're putting on your shoes, how does this come in to our practice so that it really feels like something that we can be living with? And I often say if it feels like a chore, we'll only do it during pockets of time. The power of coming together in a community is it amplifies the sense of intention, the rightness, the goodness. We feel the benefit of being around beings that have this beautiful intention to awaken, to be kind, so that so much awakens this possibility. And just how many hours more can there be this inner development during the course of a day if we learn how to be aware increasingly, let's say, of seeing? So if I say seeing right now, how many of you are aware of seeing? Okay, you aware of seeing? How many of you were aware of seeing before I said seeing? How many of you were seeing before I said seeing? How many of you were aware of seeing before I said seeing? How many of you were seeing? So the distinction between seeing is happening and awareness, how much effort did that take? Almost nothing. So this is the wisdom. Our own wisdom starts to work and understands what is necessary for these qualities to arise. Oftentimes, it's the wisdom aspect of effort, wise attention. What helps us to bring up these beautiful cultivation, the quality of the heart and mind, the lightest reminder. One of the biggest obstacles I'd say I find in actually bringing in our practice into our daily life is not the awareness, it's that we judge what we become aware of. So when we're feeling stressed, it almost feels like, well, I'm not aware because I'm stressed, I'm rushing, or I'm speaking with a harsh voice, right? Or whatever is going on, rather than appreciating that there's a knowing happening, we judge what we're knowing, what we're aware of. Does that make sense? If we keep appreciating the ability to be aware of what's going on, not analyzing and going, I shouldn't be, because what should be happening in each moment is what's happening. That's what should be happening from the understanding of cause and effect. Every moment is happening lawfully. Are you guys with me? Every moment should be happening the way it is happening in terms of what happens in the moment. That is the lawfulness of reality, the Dhamma, cause and effect, conditions, right? The challenge is our views and our opinions constantly selfing ideas creates the inner critic. I'm very good at the inner critic. Anyone else? Shame, I'm a pro. I'm sure I'm much better at than you are. I've practiced a lot with shame. I've mastered that. So shame, why? So these things are in our heart and mind because the habit is there. It's not wrong. It does have, particularly the afflictive energies that act out either inwardly or outside. They're not wrong, but they do create dukkha. They are unskillful, so we want to understand that. But they're lawful. Whatever our habit patterns are, whether of anxiety, could say even kind of depression. I mean, depression can often have a chemical reality as well. But the lawfulness, there are some conditions happening And this is arising. That's always the case. If we allow awareness to receive experience, whatever it is, practice starts to feel more available. We don't have to have a calm mind, a calm heart. We can feel agitated, we can feel uncertain, we can feel isolated. But if we keep appreciating this beautiful quality that is awake, it begins to be a refuge. The wakefulness can actually be large enough that it can receive what's going on. Again, the challenge is daily life is our momentum tends to not be as strong as what we're identified with. So the experience that has us entangled, it's like the Buddha described as a spoonful of salt, putting it into a small cup, right? And you've heard that analogy before. That when you put that salt in the cup, it's going to become salty. Great, you're here. So it's going to become salty. If you take that same spoonful of salt and put it in some huge lake, what's the nearest big lake? Great, that one. So if you put it into that one, does it become salty? No, like that. The refuge. When something becomes a refuge, same life experiences, and now it can be with it, opens to it. So something that is typically, when the balance of our awareness, wisdom, trying to be with something difficult, yes, the nature of that moment is very difficult. Something really intense happens. It's hugely explosive in the heart and mind, right? Big losses, grief, even just ordinary things. Someone passes us in some little comment, and wow, the impact that can have because of the sensitivity of our heart and mind. And that is now, if we're there for it, that is the learning. Oh, what's happening? What's happening? What's being clung to and believed? We hear something and it becomes, oh, okay, what is the emotional terrain that's being activated? Can I be with that emotion? And all of that now is basically returning us to our practice, right? But if we feel that I've got to get through this resentment, I've got to get through this heartache first, then once I'm back into my calm, happy place, okay, now I'm practicing again, we keep missing basically this gold. The gold of our own heart and mind reactions being revealed, something to learn, right? Something to see, something to see. Sometimes our kind of mind, psychological, how to describe, like our whole system could be described as these buttons that are there. If they're not being expressed, they're in Pali, they're called anusaya, these latent tendencies. But these are basically the buttons that will activate some kind of reaction, our frustration, our boredom, our irritation, all of these things. And life is really good at pushing those buttons. Your kids are really good at it, if you've got kids. Partners are really good at it, but basically the people we know best can really push those buttons. Without wise attention, our immediate reaction is, you are the problem, right? Someone does something, it's your partner's a problem, or anyone have a partner that's a problem? It's amazing how they can go from being the most amazing person to the worst person in like an hour. Same person can just be such a wide range of things. In some practices, in Tibetan practices, for example, they really do have this sense of bowing to something that triggers them. Someone says something, someone kind of honks at you and go, oh, well, thank you so much for honking. That helped me to see this trigger I didn't realize I had. So, anyone do that here? So glad you pressed my button. Now, we want to be really gentle with that. There can be the wisdom that understands there is something to know here, and we want to be very honest, and it really hurts. Someone says something, someone does something, right? Traumas that we all carry. It's a matter of time, though, as we learn this path, this beautiful path, that actually we have full agency over time, how much healing our heart and mind can do. It's amazing. The Buddha basically is saying, no matter what happens in this world, no matter what happens to us, no one can actually take away our agency, our potential for freeing the heart and mind from what it's been wounded by, the places it's holding on and clinging. We have this opportunity. When we take time and come together in a Sangha like this, right, we're nourishing, watering the seeds of the Dhamma. And if we want this to continue into the day, we want to really reflect on what makes this possible. Right? How do I do this? So when I left the monastery, this is 2005, I'd been there for a couple of years. I had all this advantage, but even then, I just kind of coasted, thinking that, oh, I've done all the big work, I'm done with all the major suffering. If you have this thought that you're done with major suffering, I just want to warn you, you might not be. Always be humble in your practice, because either it's going to teach you the hard way or the easy way. So practice requires continuing. It's true when we deeply uproot some major patterns, the heart-mind change. But awareness and wisdom is conditioned. We condition awareness, it grows for a period of time, like what we're doing here. The mind wakes up, a little bit more clarity. We walk out the door, and it, without those conditions, can fall away. And yet, what is happening? There's seeing, there's hearing, there's the body moving, there's moods and emotions. We can be awake. We can be awake as we go through those experiences. How does this happen? We need inspiration. We need to be encouraged. One of the ways for me was just having my teacher reminding me over and over again, it makes a difference and you can do it. You can do it. And he said it because he kept stopping practice. Every time he started to practice, then he would stop. And then his teacher told him, you can do it. You can do it. And so, just giving a plug for the sense of where our practice arises from. Like when we come into the hall, we begin to have this more skillful attention to our direct experience. What does our attention go to when we're out and about? It tends to topple out through our sense doors, through our seeing. It topples into the activities we're doing, right? All of that attentional energy, it goes into screens, very often goes into the concepts, the stories we're telling. If we can learn to bring that attention back into our direct experience, just like we're doing here, life opens up so much possibility of this ongoing learning, this ongoing awakening. Again, not hard, but difficult to remember. That's the challenge. It's the remembering. That's why this exercise that Utejaniya, this teacher in Burma, would often do of just this light reminder. Are you aware of seeing? Aware of hearing? And just that light reminder was this encouragement, right? It doesn't have to be a heavy hand. The more light and more continuous it is, the more this practice becomes available. So we're learning to make a habit so that we get in the car. If we have the habit, awareness will come. I often share that I've made it a habit that if I open my mouth and speak, awareness of my voice is there. Can't not happen, because not that I do it now, it's just that is now the habit. Awareness more and more becomes like a refuge. So whatever we practice, we get good at, hopefully. I've practiced, again, as I've said, a lot of inner critic and shame. So my mind has gotten very good at that. Luckily, awareness has learned to be there. She's very uncomfortable to be with shame. It wants to disappear. It's like, oh, the most excruciating emotional state. But then you learn about it. What does it feel? How does it feel in the mind? What's happening in the body? So then it becomes a refuge over time. Right? That's this gift of the Dhamma. Doesn't take hard work, but we do need to refresh it. We come together here and we refresh it, but as many times as the day that we learn to refresh our practice, that many more moments, right? This wheel keeps getting nourished, right? Getting turned. Right? Then it is lawful. It is lawful. We're not just practicing spacing out during the day or getting caught in our stories. We're coming back to a moment of reality, ordinary. What are we feeling? What is the activity of the mind? What is it thinking? And awareness is brightening. Awareness is brightening. You feel your hands, and awareness is brightening. Stability, right? And when we're there for our life, we start to see cause and effect. So much to see, right? So much to see and to be interested by.